Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin, and for today's video, we are going to be doing my summer TBR, aka all the books that I want to read this summer. I feel like we have a good list of books that I want to read this summer. Definitely leaning more into the romances. When summer comes, all I want to do is read a fun, cute little romance. I don't want anything too intricate. I don't want anything too detailed. I don't want anything too emotional. I just want to have a good time. I'm definitely leaning into my soft girl, happy girl summer. I'm trying to be a lover girl this summer. Don't want to cry this summer. I don't want to be bawling my eyes out this summer. I don't want to be in distress this summer. So you're gonna see with some of the books that I'm going to be prioritizing this summer, it's definitely smaller, lighter books. However, I do think that I have a good mix of books in here. I have some fantasies, I have some contemporary fictions, I have a thriller in here, a mystery in here, so definitely some other genres more than just romance. But I'm going to be honest, like 90% of this book list is going to be romance. So if you're also interested in having a romance summer, then definitely stay tuned and add some of these books to your list if they are currently not on your list already. Other than my upcoming releases that I'm super excited for, that some of them are going to be releasing this summer, all the books on my summer TBR are books that are currently on my physical TBR. And we have my beautiful TBR cart that I went ahead and emptied out, and we're going to add the books that I'm going to be talking about today on my TBR cart. So anytime over the next 3 months that I want to pick up a new book, we are going to pick the books from this cart. Let's go ahead and get started and talking about all the books on my summer TBR. Some of these books, if you saw them in my last year's TBR video, no you didn't. No you didn't. The first book I have is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is definitely a book that was on my summer TBR last year, but you know, we're gonna add it again because I feel like this is the summer that I will actually read this book, especially because her new release Funny Story came out a couple months ago, or was it weeks ago? But it recently just came out, and that's what everyone's been talking about, and I definitely want to read that eventually as well, but I definitely want to read Happy Place first. So this is a book that follows Harriet and Wynne, who met in college and have been dating in college, but they recently just broke up. However, they're pretending to still be together because them and their best friends are going on a annual vacation with each other, and they kind of don't want to ruin the vibe, so they've made a pact to pretend that they are still together for the sake of the vacation. I don't know if they're going to tell their friends on the vacation, if they tell their friends after the vacation. I'm not exactly sure how it's all going to play out, but I'm very interested. I've heard that this is a lot of people's favorite book by Emily Henry. My personal favorite is definitely a tie between book lovers and people meet on vacation, so I'm really excited to add another book to my Emily Henry stack of books that I've read by her. The next book I have is The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand, and this book, specifically this author, I have seen her every single time I watch any like summer rec videos. She is always on people's summer recs, and I'm just like, you know what, I want to give it a shot. I also think this was on my summer TBR last year, but we're getting to it this summer. This book is about our main character. I think her name is Lisbeth, who recently just broke up with her long-term boyfriend, and she's now been promoted to be the general manager of Hotel Nantucket. This hotel used to be a beautiful hotel, but it's kind of like an eyesore now, so she's definitely there to help kind of bring it back together and help revamp it with the help of the staff. But there's a lot of things happening behind closed doors with the staff and the guests, and there's also allegedly a ghost. In 1922, there was a 19-year-old girl who died in this hotel due to a fire, so she is the one who is haunting the halls of this hotel. I feel like it's a little bit of a mystery, maybe a little bit of a romance. I'm not entirely sure. It seems like there's a lot of things that are going to be going on. There's going to be a lot of characters that we're going to be learning about. I'm really excited to read it and to see kind of what everyone's talking about, and maybe this could be another author that I fall in love with. I should be putting them on my TBR cart. Hello. As I talk about them, we'll put them on the cart. The next book we have is Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington, and this is a young adult thriller. This is about our main character, Adina, who is on a scholarship at an elite school for the rich and powerful. However, when a fight kind of breaks out with her former friend, that leads to her Ivy League scholarship being revoked, and it kind of makes her world fall apart. However, she gets an invitation to the Finish, which is a high-stakes annual competition hosted by a powerful family called the Renningtons. And winning this competition can open many doors for Adina. However, she soon comes to find out that winning comes at a high stake, and also the competition is not exactly what it seems. So this book is a little bit of Ace of Spades, Squid Games, and The Bachelor. Someone made all those comparisons to it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. One, because I did read Ace of Spades. I didn't love Ace of Spades, but I like the idea and the concept for it. I haven't watched Squid Games, but I kind of know the premise. And then same thing with The Bachelor. Haven't really tapped into The Bachelor too much. I did watch Joey's season, like the first 2 episodes, and I was keeping pace with it on TikTok at least. I think it'll be very interesting to see see kind of how those three connections and those three comparisons tie into this story, but I'm really excited to read it. This is the thriller that I will be reading this summer. All right, the next book, I'm so excited to talk about this book, but the next book is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the second book that I will be reading by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The first one was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I absolutely loved, absolutely devoured that book. It was so freaking good. And I've been wanting to read another book by this author, but I didn't know which book I wanted to read because she has so many. But a couple of weeks ago, I actually saw a TikTok. It was a TikTok edit of the TV show Daisy Jones and the Six, and I was like, you know what? I've been seeing this book going around. I've been seeing this TV show going about, this adaptation. Let me just watch it because the TikTok edit was so good. I watched that show in less than 24 hours and I immediately became obsessed with it. I've been blasting the album in my car. I will not be surprised if when Spotify Wrapped comes out at the end of the year, if that album, specifically Look at Us Now, is like my #1 song on my Spotify Wrapped because I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with the story. I just love the way it was told. I love the acting. I love the characters. I can't say more good things about the show. So I was like, obviously I want to read Daisy Jones and the Six, and I feel like it's just a perfect one to read over the summertime. It is about a band in the 1960s, 1970s, and it's about their rise and fall to fame. It's a very complicated story, and one thing I love about Taylor Jenkins Reid, specifically just, I guess, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, because that's the only other book I've read, is that she creates characters that are not super simple. They're very complicated, and you love them, but you hate them. You don't want them to be your best friend, but you want to know more about them because they're just so interesting. And I got that feeling when I was watching the TV show, and I'm sure I'm going to get the same feeling when I read the book. It's also told in an interview style, and I think that's also a really cool concept as well, so I'm really excited to tap into this. I don't know if there's going to be a mix of interviews and like a regular narrative style in here, but I'm really excited to read this. I think it's going to be really great, and I'm also excited to compare it to the adaptation and see, okay, what did they keep, what didn't they keep, what did they change, and things like that. So this is one of the most prioritized books on my summer TBR. So the next book I have is Dele Weds Destiny by Tomi Obaro, and this book is about the story of three once inseparable college friends in Nigeria who reunite after 30 years for a lavish wedding in Lagos, a sparkling debut novel about mothers and daughters, culture and class, sex and love, and the extraordinary resilience of female friendship. Now, this book has been on my TBR for the longest time, but I haven't seen too many people talk about this book. I am really excited to read this book this summer. I originally picked it up because I think the cover is absolutely gorgeous, and this is also a debut novel for this author, so if it is a book that I enjoy, I'm very excited to read more work by this author. The next two books are by an author that everyone cannot stop talking about. Like literally every time I go on Instagram, every time I watch a booktube video, this author is mentioned, especially because of their new book that just came out this summer. But I have to start at the beginning because I like to read things in order. That book is actually part of a series, and that is no other than Abby Jimenez, and I have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez and then Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, and I cannot wait to read these books this summer. Her new release just for the summer came out, and everybody cannot stop talking about that book. I have not seen a single person rate that book lower than 5 stars. So it's like, I need to read it because I have such a bad case of FOMO. But like I said, I want to start at the beginning of the series with Part of Your World. And this book follows our main character, Alexis and Daniel, where Alexis is a sophisticated city girl and an ER doctor, and Daniel is a carpenter who lives in a tight-knit town. The more time these two characters spend together, the more Alexis realizes what matters to her, but it's her family that's kind of the problem because her family is very famous. They're well-renowned surgeons. They're very wealthy, and that's not the life that Daniel lives. So it's going to be kind of a big balance between, do I want to, you know, live my life and live in the world of my family, or do I want to become part of Daniel's world? So I think it's going to be really incredible. Also, it is an age gap romance where Alexis is about 10 years older than Daniel, so I think that's also going to be interesting because usually when I read age gap romances, it's the other way around where the guy is much older than the girl. So I'm really excited to read it where it's flipped the other way. And then following this, we have Yours Truly, which I will read right after this. I think that this book follows one of the friends that was mentioned in this book, so definitely an interconnected series. And one thing about me, I love an interconnected series. So I'm super excited to get into these two this summer and finally just get into Abby Jimenez and her writing and her work because, like I said, so many people rave about her and I want to know what the hype is about. Next, we have Love Radio by Ebony Liddell, and this is a young adult romance about Prince Jones, who has his own segment in Detroit's popular hip-hop show Love Radio, where he dishes out advice to the brokenhearted, and he wants to become a DJ in the future, but it's not something that he can really focus on right now because he is the primary caretaker of his mom and his little brother, and romance is just not something that is at the forefront of his mind. That is That is until he meets Danny, who is very focused on acing her senior year. She wants to go to New York City and kind of begin her life as a famous published author. When Prince meets Danny, he's absolutely smitten by her, but Danny is very focused on her goals and what she wants to achieve in life. But she has given Prince 3 dates for her to decide if he's worth it and worth falling in love for. And Prince is like, say no more, say less. I love a cute young adult romance. I feel like it puts me just in a very happy mood. I haven't read a really good young adult romance since Highly Suspicious and Fairly Cute by Talia Hibbert, so Talia Hibbert. I feel like I say her name wrong all the time, but I'm really excited to read this book. It's been on my shelf for a while. The cover is also just absolutely gorgeous. Jasmine Guillory on the front said, "Love Radio is pure joy," and if that's not how I want my summer to go, that's how I want my summer to go. Just absolutely pure joy. So I'm really excited to read it this summer. I think it's going to be super cute, super swoon worthy, and I think it's going to be one of my favorites. So high hopes, high hopes. No pressure, but high hopes. The next book I have is Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. This is an author that I've heard so many times. I think she wrote the Addicted series that a lot of people talk about, but this is the book that I am going to be reading by her first. I do think this is also part of a series though. One of the reasons I picked this book up is because me and my friend Logan were supposed to buddy read this a while ago. Are we buddy reading it? I don't know. Maybe I should ask her if we're gonna buddy read this. Somebody on Goodreads said it reminded them of Outer Banks. That's enough. That is enough for me. I love Outer Banks. I am waiting for season 4. I love Outer Banks so much. So the fact that somebody said that this reminded them of Outer Banks, I was like, say less. Say less. I will pick that book up and I will read it right freaking next. So this book follows our main character Mackenzie, or Mac for short, who is 20 years old and wants to focus on growing her internet business, but her parents are like, babe, you gotta go to college before you even consider thinking about that. So she moves to Avalon Bay to attend the college that's there, and that's where she meets the town bad boy Cooper, and they start building a friendship together. She just doesn't seem like all the other rich kids that he's around, so he really takes a liking in her, and she really likes him because he brings out that wilder side in her that she really kind of keeps below the surface. And I think that there's like a secret that Cooper and his friend group are kind of hiding from Mackenzie that could, you know, do something with her time there. I really don't know, but I'm really excited to read it. I feel like the cover is just also giving very much summer, very much beach vibe. Like I said, someone said it was giving Outer Banks, and that's what I'm running with. The next book I have is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, and first let's give a moment for the cover. I will say the cover is what got me to buy this book, like about 80%. 80% of what got me to buy this book was this cover because it's gorgeous. But this is a pretty short little romance novel. It is a small town brother's best friend romance where our main character Clementine, or what's her nickname, Emmy, is back in her hometown after an accident riding a horse, and she sparks a romance with her older brother's best friend Luke, who again, like the previous book, is a notorious bad boy. What is it with bad boys? I want a good guy. We're the good guys. But he's a notorious bad boy, and he kind of was always antagonizing her when they were little and they were growing up in this small town. And now that she's back, he's like, wait a minute, I'm looking at her through a different lens. Is this not giving, what's that show called? The Summer I Turned Pretty? Is this not giving The Summer I Turned Pretty? So he's now like head over heels falling for her, trying to get her attention. I think it's a little bit of a slow burn, so I'm really excited to see how it's all going to play out. Like I said, it's a pretty short book, so hopefully I can knock this out pretty quickly, but I've heard really, really good things about it. I don't know if it's necessarily like a cowboy romance, but it's giving cowboy romance, like at least from the cover, and I'm pretty sure there's like boots in here. I saw boots. Yeah, the chapters have cowboy boots. It's giving cowboy romance, which I did tap into cowboy romances earlier this year, the Chestnut Spring series. I have thoughts about that series, but we will save that for a different video. All right, so the next book I have is a very, very, very popular book, and it is Archer's Voice by Mia Sherdanan. I bought this book a while ago because the way people talk about this book is just so sweet. This book follows our main character, Bree, who moves to a small town to get a fresh start after something happens to her, and that's where she meets a guy named Archer, who is an isolated man who doesn't speak. So Archer and Bree's relationship is very transformative because she helps him find his voice, and it's his love that helps her find freedom again. I've heard that people cry so much during this book, which I'm not trying to cry this summer. I can shed a few tears, but I'm not trying to be like a bawling hot mess. So as long as it has a happy ending, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm very excited to read this one. I feel like it's going to be a very cute, emotional romance, and I feel like I'm really gonna like it. All right, now we're gonna get into a fantasy that everybody loves, that everybody has not stopped talking about. Well, they've calmed down a little bit, but last year, this fantasy took over the world, and I was like, I'm not gonna read it. Sometimes I like to read books when they're being hyped up, like in the middle of all the hype, and then sometimes I'm like, I wanna wait and read the book after the hype has died down, and this was definitely a book where I was like, I'm gonna read it after the hype has died down, and that that is none other than Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I don't know anything about this book. I don't know nothing. I don't know squat. My knowledge of this book is that it is about dragons, and that is all I know. And that's all I want to know. Let this book surprise me is how I'm going into it. It's a dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. I will say the last book I read that was about dragons, I gave 1 star. I feel like the summertime is a good time to read this book as well. I don't have too many fantasies on my list, but I was like, you know what? Let's add a fantasy in there. Let's add the dragons. Why not? Why not? So I am excited to read Fourth Wing this summer whenever I get to it. I feel like it's going to be interesting nonetheless. All right, our top row. We have like 4 more books left. The next 2 books are by the same author. The first one is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And I have been really wanting to read this book because I've heard so many great things about it. This book is a young adult mystery and it follows our main character, Avery, who is left with a big lump sum of money. A billionaire left her a lot of money, basically his entire fortune. However, the catch is she has to live in a mansion with all the people that he did not leave the money for. So I think it's his grandkids or something. Yeah, so she has to now live with the family that he disinherited. Talk about drama. While she's in this mansion, there's a lot of mysteries that she has to kind of uncover. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of drama between her and the family members that she has to live with. So it's just going to be very interesting. A lot of people have talked about it. They say it's pretty easy to get through. Her writing style is very kind of simple and straightforward, which is something that I am looking for over the summer. I don't want anything that's going to give me a headache. And speaking of Jennifer Lynn Barnes, the second book I have is The Naturals by her. This one is something that I'm a little bit more excited about because it's a young adult mystery type of book. It's about a group of teenagers where each person has a unique skill and they are recruited by the FBI for a classified program that uses exceptional teenagers to crack infamous cold cases. Our main character, Cassie, or Casey, can read people and she's sent to live with this group of teens, and I'm just very curious about how this is all going to play out. There's 4 books in this series, so if I really like it, I'll definitely get the rest of the books in the series, but I've heard really good things about this one. It's not a super long book anyway, so I'm excited to read both of these this summer, kind of start some new series. Now, I'm kind of cheating a little bit. Like I said, I am prioritizing the books on my physical TBR to create my summer TBR, but I just found out like yesterday that the loan that I put in at the library on the Libby app is available, so I'm going to add that to my summer TBR as well because I really want to read it, and that is none other than When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This is the first book in the series. I read the second book in the series, which is Practice Makes Perfect, last year, and I thought that it was okay. It was a very cute kind of romance, very simple, very low angst, which is exactly the energy that I am going for this summer. I really wanted to read the first book in the series. The first one is about our main character, Amelia Rose, who is a stranded pop star in a small town in Rome, Kentucky, where she runs into Noah Walker, who's a baker and owns a pie shop, which already sounds like the cutest thing ever. And he lets her stay in his guest room, and you know, they get close. She's probably gonna be like, oh my gosh, do I want to stay in this small town and live with Noah, or do I want to go back to my life as a pop star? It's giving Hannah Montana, the movie, just a little bit. So I'm really excited. Actually, I know what she does because I read the second book, so I know how it's gonna end, but still, I'm gonna pretend that I don't. So I'm really excited to read this on my Kindle. That's technically the end of this video. However, I have a maybe. This book has been on my channel quite a number of times. I have bought this book, I have unhauled this book, I have added this book back to a TBR. I have just gone through a lot with this book. Specifically, I am adding it to my summer TBR as a maybe because I don't know if it's this summer that I'm going to get to it or if it's going to be in the fall. I want to get to it this year, and that is none other than A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. And you're probably like, Caitlin, you are holding this book up again. And like, yes, I am, because I want to give this book another shot. I want to give this book a real shot, okay? I read this book a couple of years ago. As you can see, I have the original cover, and I started reading it, and I got to like page 180 something, and I DNF'd it because I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't like this. It's not for me. However, like I've mentioned in this video already, I have a really bad case of FOMO. One thing about me is I want to be in the know. Whether it's because I like the book or I don't like the book, I just want to be in the know. I want to know what the girlies are talking about. So I've just made the executive decision that I'm going to kind of add this book to my summer TBR. One of my close friends, Logan, she is obsessed with Sarah J Maas, specifically A Court of Thorns and Roses. I just want to connect with her about this book. Whether I hate it or like it, I just want to be able to be like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And then my other friend, Jackie, on Instagram, she started reading this book too, and I was like, should I read it? And she was like, yes. So I was like, okay, Jackie, I'm adding it to my TBR. I also have A Court of Mist and Fury because a lot of people say the first book is not the best. It doesn't get good until the second book, which is already kind of like a red flag. Like, why is it taking 2 books for the story to get good? However, the same thing happened with Magnolia Parks, where I didn't love the first book, but I liked the second book a lot more. And like, obviously Magnolia Parks is one of, you know, my favorite series series that I've read, but it took me a while to like really get into it. I think it's fair to say that it's okay if a book series takes a minute to get into. So I have these two here and I want to give it a fair shot. Let's bring her closer. This is my summer TBR. So these are all of the books that I am prioritizing this summer, that I want to read this summer. Any single time I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to read a book, I have to come to the shelf and I have to pick one of these books to read. Now, realistically, I will probably read books that are not on the shelf, especially because we have some new releases coming out within the next couple of months. So I am going to be reading books that are not going to be on my TBR cart. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you have any books on your TBR for the summer that I did not mention, please leave them down below. But if I did mention some of the books that are on your summer TBR as well, also please leave that down below. Maybe we can do like a nice little buddy read together. Let me know your thoughts. I'll let you know my thoughts on it. If any of these books are your favorite, let me know. I do have some reading vlogs coming up very soon. I know I've been doing mainly sit down videos as I try to get back into the swing of things, but I do have some reading vlogs coming very soon. I'm filming one as we speak, and then I'll be doing a summer reading vlog where I'm going to be reading some of these books in that video. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys have an amazing start to your summer, and I will see you guys in my next video very soon. Bye!